Welcome! We're poolside with GoTarryn TV. Today we're going to talk about how to stay cool during the dog days of summer.
All right, welcome back. As you can see, we're welcoming side by side Elsie Trawick back to GoTarryn TV. Elsie, yes, welcome. Great to have you back here today.
Great, it's great to be here poolside. This is just so incredible.
This is nice.
It's wonderful.
And we're going to have a discussion today, right, Elsie?
Yes, we're going to talk about heat. We're in the last couple of weeks of August, and the first week of September where it stays hot. In Georgia, we are in what's called the dog days. Temperatures have skyrocketed. It's 90 plus during the day.
Very hot.
No rain, so we're not getting that cool. It's imperative that everybody realize it's hot outside. And when it's hot outside, you can suffer from heat exhaustion, heat stroke, dehydration,
certainly,
which are all three serious. And all funniness aside, those three things can lead to death if you're not careful.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up because that actually happened this week as we were talking about before recording. You had mentioned, and the glaring sun, and that can lead on to things like heat cramps and dehydration and such. So obviously here in Atlanta, there was a young teenager who was denied getting enough water, and we've talked about the importance of water. What's your thoughts on something? I mean, obviously most people heard about that story. It seems just kind of senseless, doesn't it?
It does. In fact, I can't believe it because it's preventable. If you are an avid runner and you typically go run at lunch, and don't do it these next it's only 2 or 3 weeks. Don't do it. Run early in the morning when it's cooler, the temperatures haven't skyrocketed, or later in the evening when the temperatures have gone down. Also, or if you really need to, run inside or on shady streets where there's shade. Make sure you carry not just water, but other products that replace electrolytes and salts that we lose when we're sweating. So it's very important. Pedialyte. Have a couple of bottles of that in your car or in your office or in your gym bag. That's great. They have unflavored Pedialyte. Mix that with water. Mix it with, you could throw a little lemonade in there. But just make sure you're replacing the liquids you're losing through perspiration and sweat. Even at the gym, be careful during these. Dehydration is terrible. It can lead to headaches, brain fog, cramps. Those are the three leading side effects, which if you start having, you go and exercise, you start having severe headaches or even a dull, throbbing headache, start pushing Powerade, Gatorade, Pedialyte, water with like apple cider vinegar or lemon in it to get the electrolytes back in your body.
Very good. Excellent. And here's a generic question, but how much water do you have your clients, taking in terms of like suggesting when they ask you that and they say, how much water should I take every day? Is there a general rule of thumb that you like?
There is a general rule of thumb, but everybody's different. We're all different shapes, sizes, weights, heights. So really, it's if you're thirsty and you go get something to drink, you've already waited too late.
Very good.
So just one thing I do tell my clients who are trying to get enough water in is before breakfast, have an 8-ounce glass of water.
Right.
Then nothing, or maybe your coffee or tea while you eat. Then immediately after breakfast, let your food digest a little bit, then drink another 8-ounce glass of water. Before lunch, an 8-ounce glass of water. After lunch, an 8-ounce glass of water. Because if you get yourself on that schedule, you're at least getting 6 8-ounce glasses of water in your body, plus the other things you're drinking, coffee, tea, your mid-afternoon latte or whatever. But if you focus on getting hydration in before and right after a meal, it's more likely to stick with you, because if we get busy, I know I'm guilty of this, I'll start working on the computer or get busy on the phone or at my desk. And my water glass is sitting right there. But if it's empty and I'm busy, I'm not going to get up to go refill it.
Right.
So if you focus on having a certain time, like every afternoon, we all get up and stretch. That's when, instead of going to the vending machine to get something to eat, go get yourself some cool water.
Yeah, good idea, right.
And either a big bottle of it. If you're like me, by my desk, I've tried to eliminate all plastic bottles from my home. I have a big, like, I don't know, 20-ounce glass Tervis tumbler on my desk, and that's what I use, refillable filtered water.
Yes.
And I just down that, and I try to drink many of those. But when you've been working and you're tired and you get up and you're like, oh man, I need to stretch, and you stand up, instead of going to the vending machine, the cookie machine, or to your kitchen to get something to eat, first hydrate. Hydrate first, and take a walk around.
Yeah, it gets that
because
body moving,
most what your body needs is hydration.
Yeah.
You can become dehydrated sitting in a nice cool office space working away.
Yeah, good point, Elsie. And one more question about the hydration. How about the electrolytes? You'd mentioned this. Are there any specific drinks that you prefer or recommend that are best, at the top of them?
Well, my first one is Pedialyte.
Pedialyte,
I know every parent will know that one. The reason I like that is because it has an unflavored, which has no added stuff.
Oh, right, of course.
I'm a big Whole30 and simple fat burn, so I'm like into cutting sugar, all extraneous sugar.
Yes.
If you go to the Powerades and the Gatorades, you're getting high fructose corn syrup.
Ah, good point.
But if you're biking, you're hiking, you're burning calories, it makes a big difference than if you're sitting at your desk working.
True. Right.
Where you're exercising your brain, but you're not necessarily pounding those muscles into shape. And I like to limit all the extraneous sugar that we get already in our diet.
Oh yeah.
So when you pop up and you're just like, well, I'm thirsty, I'll have a Gatorade. Think about the sugar intake.
Good point. Yeah. And we've talked now about drinks. How about foods? Like as far as fruits and vegetables are a great option. You've mentioned that before.
Yeah, fruits and vegetables are a great way to hydrate.
Sure.
You're cooling vegetables, cucumbers, radishes, peppers, all your pepper varieties.
Watermelon.
Fruits, and right now all our pit fruit is in. Cherries, peaches, apricots.
There you go, right.
They have a lot of moisture in them too. But particularly down here in the South, watermelon. And watermelon is in season and it is delicious. And watermelon has a lot of other things that are really good for us too. You can, if you bought a watermelon and you're running out of time eating it, puree it. If you don't want the gritty stuff, strain it. You can add watermelon juice to lemonade, watermelon juice to iced tea with a hint of lemon or lime. You can add watermelon to your smoothies in the morning. But watermelon is a really healthy choice and very hydrating. Cucumbers have a ton of stuff that's really good for us. They're power food, superfood. Radishes have a lot of water in them. Peppers have a lot of water in them. And they're cooling. Right now, I know in the morning, I usually eat an egg, and I've been having egg salad on top of greens with an assortment of veggies around it because it's just so warm. By the time I get in from exercising and walking the dogs, it's already up in the temperatures is already starting to skyrocket. The last thing I want is to sit down to a hot meal.
Yes, very good. And you had mentioned this too earlier, Elsie, about staying hydrated and rehydrating, but actually everyone pretty much watching has a smartphone. They actually have apps such as Waterminder and Agua Alert, for example, that tell us and give us an alert, say, hey, have you rehydrated? Have you eaten that fruit or drinking that water? Or even like you said earlier, walking that lap around the office. I think those are all really good ideas.
Yeah,
actually.
And it's critical. Keep your water bottle filled.
There you go, right.
Keep it with you at all times. And they make these incredible Yetis. I use my Yeti coffee cup, really. I use that for water and tea because I'm not a big coffee drinker. And so I use those. But find a glass, a container, something you really like that resonates with you, keep it with you. Throw it in your pocketbook, your backpack, your briefcase. That way you always have water.
Love it, Elsie. Those are really good. Now, shifting gears for a second, because we'll come back to staying on rehydration and the importance, but as we know, people probably are watching have the complaints of working out and exercising in the intense sun and heat. And you touched on this some, but what about for folks who just can't exercise on land, let's say, that don't have the options for that, or let's say their joints are hurting, their doctors have advised no kind of shock absorbing kind of exercising and walking even, or elliptical. Is there any other options that come to mind? Yes, I see we have a pool back there. Right, exactly.
What's right behind us.
Absolutely.
Which is just incredible, because going into a pool I'm a big believer in water aerobics.
There you go, right.
Hydro aerobics, it's got several different names. In fact, I used to teach water aerobics.
Yes.
And
that's
it's fabulous because it takes all the pressure off the joints. And if you're recuperating from an injury, swimming is fabulous. Swimming is like the #1 exercise for your back.
Yeah. Very good.
It really is.
The buoyancy, the range of motion. I think that's really critical.
Yeah, I used to swim with a master swim group.
Oh, wow, yes.
It was intense. I was the only one who wasn't training for a biathlon or a triathlon.
Oh, wow.
But I kept up.
And that's the great thing about, like you said, water aerobics. You could see, I mean, who can't do it? Like, in other words, like, is it pretty much for everyone, or is it limited?
It is for everyone.
Yeah.
It is, no matter your shape, size, age. Hydroaerobics is for everyone.
Wow.
And it's a great year-round way to exercise. There are all the big gyms typically have a pool at one of their locations, and they do water aerobics classes. I know you can find shallow end hydroaerobics classes, and they also have, for pools that have the deep end, they'll have a deep end where you're completely using your arms and legs at the same time to buoy yourself up. And it's a really, because you're in the water, it seems like, oh, that was so easy, but it is an intense all body workout.
Wow, yeah, that's amazing. And that's great too. What about the importance of staying motivated, accountability, and working with others, like whether it's in a class or a buddy? Do you think that kind of plays an important role?
That plays a huge role. Accountability, having an accountability partner or an accountability coach, whether that be your personal trainer, your health coach,
there you go, right,
your wellness expert. Pay somebody. There are all kinds of coaches out there that will hold you accountable. There are apps on the telephone that will hold you accountable, that require you to check in with a yes/no option that will hold you accountable. And if you find you're not keeping up with your accountability, find out why. Ask yourself, why am I not holding myself accountable? Why am I not meeting my goal? It may be you're doing the wrong exercise. Like you may be eating the wrong thing. You may be on the wrong diet. It's not working for you. If you're not receptive and motivated, you need to find out why. That's critical. And not everything your friend does or someone recommends is going to work for you. You have to find what fits you, your lifestyle, your needs, your physical capabilities. One of the things I like to do in my coaching practice is, before we even start out, is I want a list of people's favorite foods. Because I want to know if I'm going to ask them to eat broccoli and they don't like broccoli, they're not going to do it. You've got to find out what are the and also what are the trigger foods. What are mine? For everybody, my trigger food is chocolate chip cookie dough.
Oh.
That is my supreme weakness. It took me years to where I now am okay with letting some chocolate chip cookie dough go by. But that was a huge one for me when I would get upset, have a bad day, or really having a severe down moment. I would make a batch of chocolate chip cookie batter. And I would never make one cookie. I would eat the whole thing. And that was my huge, it's like, and it's to the point where it's like, I just have one more spoonful. So identify not only foods you like and that are healthy, but foods that are your trigger foods that make you snap, lose it all, and say, I've got to have that right now. Because once you know what they are, you can start dealing with, why do I go to them? That's the next part of our story, is our why. Why we do things that are not good for us, why we don't exercise when we know we should, why we eat bad foods, or why do we over imbibe when we're at a party. All those questions, getting to know your why and your is huge. Then you start tackling your whys to success. Why do I want to lose weight? Why do I want to be healthy? Why do I want to do this exercise? So our whys are both on the positive and the negative end of our spectrum, and we've got to shift away from our negative ones and move to the positive ones.
Yeah, no, those are great, Elsie. You know, those are really, really good. And you know, some people I know, they get demotivated, like if they come up with an excuse like, well, it's too hot outside or it's too cold outside. It's a nice day, I'm not going to go to the gym. It's a horrible day, I don't want to drive in this traffic. But the people that have those internal conflicts, you know, what's your best advice if they're just struggling and they need kind of, you know, some motivation to just do it and be more accountable? Like what kind of suggestions would you tell them to attack that why, like you said?
You know, that's a really tough question, and it's very individualized.
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
There are affirmations. There are a lot of apps now that will send you an inspirational saying. Will give you a quote of the day that's inspirational. That helps. I find that when I don't want to go to the gym and I don't want to work out, that's when I need it the most. So on the flip side, if I'm like, oh man, I'm tired, I've got so much to do, I don't really want to go to that class, or I don't want to pull out on the weekends, I don't want to pull out my computer and pull up a class, that's when I need it the most. That's when you need to really make yourself go. Because going when you're unmotivated will pop you right out of that mood. And if you're still kind of anxious or angry or frustrated when you come out of the class, I'll bet you feel a lot better. Even though you may still be in somewhat of a funk, I bet you feel better.
Yeah, you're right.
And most of the time, exercise, that's what kicks off our body. It starts the serotonin flowing, starts the endorphins going.
Exactly.
A lot of times, especially, I have 2 dogs, for all those pet lovers out there, I get out and walk them, especially if I've had a busy day and I'm stressed and I need to unwind. Getting my dogs out and going to the park is such a release.
Yes.
It like takes all the anxiety and stress out of the situation, and when I come back, I'm actually able to sit down and tackle something that may have been my big frustration for the day. So when you're frustrated, when you're demotivated, that's when you need to go and do it the most.
Yeah, good point. You touched on it. You said exactly, you know, the proof is out there. Research has shown that people will feel much better physically and psychologically. And then speaking of which, too, that brings me another question I have for you. So what about those parties that you mentioned a couple minutes ago, like people are invited to and everyone's drinking, everyone's eating really bad. Here we are, we're at the coming up with the holidays. You got Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, the rest of them are coming up the rest of the year. Any advice on how to combat or put a defense armor on that when that happens?
Oh, yeah, and for everybody who's listening, I do a 2-part presentation in October, November, and December. It's called Surviving the Holidays.
Oh, nice.
And I have a lot of tips and tricks. We're coming up on Labor Day.
Yes,
big barbecue moment.
Yes.
For all those people who are trying to keep their diet going, trying to keep their weight, eat lots of vegetables. When you go to the barbecue, there's usually a big green salad. There's usually some fresh raw veggies and dip.
There you go.
There's watermelon. There's tea instead of a beer. You know, one thing I like to say is, if you get to a cookout and you're really, really thirsty, go get your cold beer or your glass of wine, but also get a glass of tea, glass of lemonade, or a glass of water. Down that before you start drinking.
Ah, yes.
Because that will satiate remember, you're thirsty. You're thirsty. That cold beer is still going to taste just as good, or that glass of white wine, when you sip on it, it's still going to be fine. but hydrate, hydrate, hydrate. And between every alcoholic beverage, have a non-alcoholic beverage.
Oh, yeah.
If you tend to overeat, tackle the vegetables first. Eat your salad first. Then move on to the baked beans and the barbecue. Skip the bun.
The carbs.
Skip the carbs. If you're having a hot dog and a hamburger, go bunless. You got the beans there as your carb. Or potato salad or macaroni salad, let that be your carb. When you get to dessert, choose one.
Very good advice, Elsie. And the last time you and I talked about, we focused 30 minutes on celiac, specifically gluten. What about someone who's watching who might be either celiac or gluten intolerant to go to invited to a big party or a cookout or grilling? What would you tell them in terms of how to best prepare?
Ask the host. If you're invited and you're a guest, ask the host, can I bring a dish?
Ah, there you go.
And ask the host, say, you know what, I am celiac, I really have to watch this. Does the barbecue have gluten in it? And you could throw off a couple of names of things. Does it have, key ingredients? A lot of times, if you're good friends with your host or hostess, they'll have you in mind, they'll know. If not, take a dish, take your own. Say, I brought a hamburger patty, or I brought a chicken breast, can I throw this on the grill? If they're going to be grilling. There are a lot of ways. Don't be shy is the big thing. For people suffering with gluten intolerance or any other food allergy, don't be shy. And if there is nothing, eat before you go, or take your food in a little bag. No one's going to notice.
Right.
No one's going to care. There's always going to be fruit and salads and sides, but take your meat with you.
Yeah, you mentioned, some people might be shy or feeling like nervous about coming to a party and people are watching. But like you said, nobody cares. They're just worried about themselves. Same question as far as getting back in the pool. You hear a lot of people, at least I do run into people, especially at the pools, who are very shy and don't want to get in because, let's face it, a lot of us, get in your bathing suit, swimsuit, what have you. What would you tell those people in terms of kind of, just you can do it, nobody's looking, what would you tell them in terms of like best advice of how to get over that shyness and modesty?
One of the things we've got to get over, quite frankly, is body image and how self-critical we are. We have to love ourselves, no matter our shape, size, personality, hair color. Because if we don't, we're always going to be frustrated. We're always going to be angry. We're always going to be upset.
Yes.
So you know what? None of us are perfect. No one is perfect. And don't be shy. Don't be fearful. If you want to change your weight, number one, call me and Taryn to help with that. But get out there, exercise, swim. Be proud that you're taking a step towards movement. So it's all about just don't hang back because you're worried what someone else will think. Empower yourself, and if there are things you want to change, make a list of them. Write them all down. I want to change my weight. I want to lose 25 or 35 or more or less pounds. I want to get in better physical shape. I want to do this. Write everything down you want to change, and then you can start to work on it.
Very good, Elsie.
But there's nothing you can do until you realize you want to change.
Yeah, it's up to you.
It's up to you.
Yeah, that's true. And you touched on a lot of, obviously, in the last 20, 30 minutes here on eating and exercising. But we also know mindful health is really important, the psychological part. You touched on the positive affirmations, which is very important. I just had a client tell me this, actually yesterday as we're speaking right now, that he told me that he said that a very successful psychiatrist told him that every single psychiatrist that person knows spends at least 10 minutes meditating every day. Can you talk to us about the importance of kind of that, like you said, going back to positive affirmation? How much of the pie is that of making sure that we focus on ourselves, because that kind of ties into loving yourself and the self-image, doesn't it?
It does.
Mm-hmm.
It does. And one of the best things you can do for yourself is meditate.
Mm-hmm.
We are in an age where we're connected 24/7.
Yes.
And
right.
if we're not
mm-hmm.
connected, we feel somehow slighted.
Exactly.
I've started a whole new protocol for myself. Is at a certain point, I turn off the phone and I literally don't answer it, don't look at it.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, I continued my obsession with, I haven't done this.
Yeah.
I got to get this out. I've got to. It's like, no, we need downtime.
Mm-hmm.
And I really think more and more we are all aware, I need some downtime. I need some quiet time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not just going to the gym,
Right.
which I consider part of my downtime because I'm focused on something totally other than what I need to get done or haven't gotten done that day.
Mm-hmm.
But true quiet time where we're sitting in silence. That's one of the best things you can do for yourself. And more and more articles are coming out of the benefits of quote unquote downtime, whether that be meditation, sitting in silence, which for a lot of us, they can't do it. They're like, why isn't the phone going off? Why, it's very difficult. But bringing your mind back to present moment consciousness is hugely beneficial. We're looking at an age where cancer, I don't think, is truly our biggest scare. Alzheimer's and dementia are our biggest scare. And those are everything that we do, take in, eat, drink, consume, and eat and outwardly consume. And by that I mean listen to, focus on, is part of that brain, affects our brain. Your brain needs quiet time. It needs downtime.
Yeah.
It's critical.
Yeah.
I've got some mornings, like on Saturday and Sunday, some mornings, because I get up really early on the weekends. I know that's really weird. I just do. I just really enjoy it. I don't have anything on.
Oh.
I don't carry my phone around with me.
Wow.
I have no radio on, no TV. I open the doors and windows because it's cool, and I listen to the bird sounds. I listen to nature.
Nice.
And that's when I walk around. I fix my apple cider vinegar water. I feed the dogs, and then I go and I just sit. And I give myself about 20 minutes of just down time.
I bet that feels really good after.
It does.
Yeah.
It's really good for me, and it's really good for my brain.
Absolutely.
So consider that. Consider having some downtime where nothing's on. Your phone is in a different room. Your tablet, your computer is not on. Another thing some people are starting to do is disconnect the Wi-Fi in the house. If you're wireless, disconnect the Wi-Fi so that all those signals are off. And for parents with children, if you're worried about what your children are doing at night on their tablet and on their phone, if you disconnect the Wi-Fi, you don't have to worry about that anymore. They can't get on the internet.
Excellent. Very good, Elsie. Yes. Well, this has been an awesome video blog, Elsie. I've really enjoyed this. We've got to do this more often here, Poolside.
Oh, well, we do.
And you mentioned for the folks watching, they could call you anytime. Let's get that information, please. How could people learn more about you and contact you directly, Elsie?
Elsie Trawick at 404-788-1610. That is my business line. And you can text me at that number, too.
Perfect. Well, Elsie, I want to thank you very much for your time, and I appreciate you doing this for us. This has been a lot of fun.
This has been great. It's been fun.
Absolutely.
Now let's go jump in the pool.
Let's jump in the pool. I was just going to say, absolutely. And I hope you have a great rest of your week, and excellent job
Thank
today.
you.
Yes,
thank you. You have a good rest of your week, too.
Thank you, and we'll see everybody later. Bye-bye. Bye.